was research being done in economics. There was research being done in social psychology. There was research being done in anthropology, but there was also research being done in molecular biology. There was a whole field called chronobiology, the study of our biological rhythms. There was research in cognitive science. There was research in anesthesiology. There was research in endocrinology. But nobody was talking to each other. They were asking very similar questions, but no one was talking to one another. So the economists were not talking to the psychologists. The psychologists were not talking to the anthropologists. Nobody was talking to the endocrinologists. Perhaps understandably. Yet they're all asking very similar questions. What's the effect of time of day on how we feel and how we perform? How do beginnings affect us? How do midpoints affect us? How do endings affect us? How do we synchronize in time? How does the very way we think about time affect what we do and how we do it? And I thought if you went wide enough and deep enough into this research, you could begin to piece together the evidence-based ways to make better, smarter, shrewder decisions about when to do things. So the big idea here is that we think that timing is an art, but it's really a science. We make our decisions on timing based on intuition and guesswork and default, and that's the wrong way to do it. We should be making them based on science. We should be making them based on evidence. And this science is super cool and interesting. It answers a range of questions across the human condition. Questions like this. When should you exercise? Early in the day or late? Very clear answer to that question. I don't intend to give it to you, but there's a very clear answer. Why should you never go to the hospital or schedule an important doctor appointment in the afternoon? For real. Seriously, if you learn nothing else here today, I hope that, seriously, I will feel like I've made a contribution to the world if one person leaves here and cancels an important afternoon doctor appointment. We are going to talk about this. Why does beginning your career during a recession depress your wages 20 years later? There's some incredible and startling research. This is from Lisa Kahn at Yale about how the unemployment rate the year you graduate from university has an effect on your wages literally 2 decades later. So someone who, John was talking about this earlier with the 100-yard dash, like the kind of start that you get makes a huge difference. And if you start way behind, it stays with you for a very long time. Why are basketball teams trailing by 1 point at halftime more likely to win than those leading by 1 point at halftime? A whole set of research on midpoints. What happens to us at the midpoint? In the NBA, in general, a team ahead at halftime is more likely to win the game. Okay? You should be nodding at this because that's very simple math, right? They have more points than the games have over, right? So their odds of winning are pretty good. But there's an exception to that rule. Teams that are trailing by 1 are more likely to win than teams that are ahead by 1. That being down by 1 in the NBA at halftime is equivalent to being ahead by 2. Why is that? Other questions as answers. Why are you most likely to run your first marathon at age 29, 39, 49, or 59? The effect of endings on us. This is the research of Adam Alter and Hal Hirschfield about how endings affect us. When we see the end of something, we think a little harder. Other questions as answers. Why is singing in a choir as good for your physical and mental health as exercise? This is among the most mind-boggling research I've ever written about. The effects of singing in a choir, not singing by yourself. You can sing by yourself, it's not that good for you. It's certainly not good for the rest of us. But singing in a choir has massive effects on our mood. It's a prophylactic against depression. It actually causes physiological changes. So if you were to, there are experiments out there where they draw people's blood, measure their immunoglobulin levels, have them sing in a chorus, and measure their immunoglobulin levels again, and their immunoglobulin levels have risen. Their immune response is higher after singing in chorus. It's part of what happens to our body and our mind and our soul when we coordinate with others. So this is totally cool. There's so much good stuff, but I'm just going to select a slice for y'all today. I want to talk about the day. And the reason I want to talk about today is this. When we think about time, units of time, we tend to think they're natural, but they're not. So there's a clock right here that you can't see, and it's counting down in seconds. 4, 3. But a second's not a thing. A second's not natural. A second's something human beings have made up. Right? A week is not a thing. A week is something human beings have made up. We could have said, oh, we want a second to be this long, rather than this long. We want a week to be 8 days long, rather than 7 days long. It's just something, it's not a thing. But a day is a thing, right? This is obviously the level of scientific sophistication I'm bringing to you. A day is a thing, right? Because we can't do anything about it. We can't dictate, oh, I'd like the planet to turn a little slower or faster. We're stuck. And so the day has a big effect on us, and it has a big effect on us as leaders, and a big effect on people whom you're leading. So let's talk about some of the research on the effect of the day on how we feel and how we perform. Idea: the hitting pattern of the day profoundly affects our mood and our performance. The hitting pattern of the day profoundly affects our mood and our performance. I'm going to give you 2 quick studies about how the day affects our mood, 2 quick studies on how it affects our performance, then we're going to pay it off. We're also going to have a pop quiz. Start here. Some very interesting research is being done with big data. There's a program out there called LIWC, L-I-W-C, the Linguistic Inquiry Word Count. It's basically a giant text analyzer. You can throw a huge amount of text in there, and it can tell you all kinds of things about the written word. So it can take the novels of Toni Morrison and say, how often does she use passive tense? How often does she use active tense? How often do male characters speak? How often do female characters speak? And one of the things this giant text analyzer can do is measure the emotional level of words. So these 2 researchers at Cornell decided to use this massive text analyzer to use a different body of text. Not anything as awesome as Toni Morrison's novels, but something a little less awesome. Tweets. And not a few tweets. 500 million tweets. 500 million tweets. Think about reading 500 million tweets. Think about reading 1 million tweets. I read 10 tweets, I just want to rip my eyebrows out, right? So think about it. You don't have human beings do this. You don't have human beings do this, you have machines do this. So 500 million tweets for 2.5 million users in 84 countries. And one of the things this program is very good at is measuring the emotional level of the words that are used. Does this word convey positive sentiment? Does this word convey negative sentiment? Does this word convey neutral sentiment? So they measure that for 500 million tweets, but remember, every tweet is time-stamped. So you can take the mood, plot it against time of day, and say, do our tweets reveal changes in our mood as the day goes on? And the answer was, you betcha. Mood went up, mood declined, and mood recovered. There was a peak, there was a trough, and there was a recovery. Now, if you look at this and you're watching live, you realize that things are going to get worse here with us today. We are headed on a slope downward. Sorry about that. Okay, so I want you to think about that for a moment. We're going to stack up a bunch of pieces of research here, and then we're going to pay it off. So that's one way of doing the research. Remember, lots of disciplines, lots of methodologies here. All right, we're going to do some serious science here, guys. We got charts, we got science. It's going to be awesome. Here we go. So there's another methodology fashioned by a fellow named Daniel Kahneman. Daniel Kahneman is a psychologist who won the Nobel Prize in economics. He came up with a methodology that he calls the Day Reconstruction Method, DRM. It's really simple. You have people write down the activities of their day, what time they're doing, and how they feel. So people would write down 7:30 in the morning, I'm commuting, I am irritable. 9 o'clock, I am, see my friend at the office, I am content. 2 p.m., I am sleepy. Right? So people would write these down, and then hundreds of people, and then they would say, does this reveal any changes in mood as the day goes on? And the answer was, you betcha. So the vertical axis here is something I'm calling net good mood. So it's positive mood minus negative mood. Here's what that chart looked like. There was a peak, there was a trough, and there was a recovery. Mood went up, mood went down, mood recovered. Peak, trough, recovery. Now, let's pair these 2 charts. Let's look at them together, right? They're not identical, but they rhyme. Up, down, down, up. And scientists of all stripes, of all disciplines, using all different kinds of methodologies, keep finding this out. During a day, our mood lifts, it drops, and it recovers. There is a peak, there is a trough, there is a recovery. So let's stack that can right here. Now, we care about mood. As leaders, you know that your mood is going to affect your leadership abilities. You know that your team's mood is going to affect their performance in some way. But let's unpack that a little bit more. Let's talk about performance, because here it gets interesting, super interesting. Let's go back to this program here, this giant text analyzer, and here we're going to use a different body of text. These are researchers at NYU using a different body of text. They decided to use, this is horrible, right? They decided to use earnings calls. Public companies, every quarter, report their earnings. They have calls where the CEO and the CFO talk about their earnings, project next quarter's earnings, talk about what's going right and wrong in their company with journalists and analysts. These calls are transcribed. So they looked at they looked at the transcripts of 26,000 earnings calls. This is so painful. Human beings can't do this research. Seriously, go online and look and read through an earnings call. You will not make your way, you will not finish it. You will not finish it. 26,000 of them, 21 companies, 6.5 years. They were looking for one thing, but they said, this thing's pretty good at emotions. Let's see if the mood in these earnings calls changes over the course of the day, as evidenced by the words these executives are using. And the answer was, wow, the mood does change. And they said, oh, that's probably because companies with good earnings reported one time a day, and companies with bad earnings reported another time a day. That must be what it is. So they control for that. And now, as you know, those of you who do sophisticated statistical analysis, it does come with that sound effect. All right? They control for that. Holy smokes, it doesn't change at all. Here's what they found. Afternoon calls were more negative, irritable, and combative, leading to temporary stock mispricings for firms hosting earnings calls later in the day. Now think about that. Earnings calls, CEO and CFOs of public companies, people like Carly, CEOs and CFOs of public companies. They are extremely well prepared for these calls. They rehearse, they have talking points, they anticipate questions, they have squadrons of people ready to deliver them information, and they have a lot at stake, literally millions of dollars. Talented, well-prepared people with millions of dollars at stake still aren't tough enough to deal with this hidden pattern. And I think what's interesting here is this temporary stock mispricing. That I'm convinced there is someone out there who has written a program to exploit that change, that delta between true price and the temporary low price. It's probably a Tyler Perry sport right now. Financing some movies. It's so bad that these academics do something academics rarely do. They give people advice. Here's what they said. An important takeaway from our study for corporate executives is that communications with investors and probably other critical managerial decisions and negotiations should be conducted earlier in the day. Go to another study. Talk about education. For that, we're going to go to Denmark. Something beautiful happened in Denmark. Something called a natural experiment. Here's what happened. In Denmark, students take standardized tests as they do here in the States. In the States, many students still take standardized tests the way that I took them in Columbus, Ohio in 1976, right, with number 2 pencils and bubble forms, Scantron, that kind of thing. But in Denmark, they're slightly more advanced now, and they take the tests on computers. However, on test day, the typical Danish school has more students than computers. So everybody can't take the test at the same time. As a consequence, the students are randomly assigned to take the test at different times of day. Some take them early in the day, some take them later in the day. Does that make a difference?
Yes.
Yes. Take a look. For every hour later in the day, scores decrease. We find that an hour later in the day causes a deterioration in test score that is equivalent to slightly lower household incomes, less parental education, and missing 2 weeks of school. Yeah, thank you for the wow. I think that is wow-worthy, right? Think about that. So we're going to make education policy based on standardized test scores. And a tutor takes a test in the morning, scores here, and the other one takes a test in the afternoon, scores here. Is that a valid basis for policy making? I'll tell you what's worse. Are we going to make decisions about this kid when if she had been randomly assigned here, she would have scored better? This is getting a little bit alarming. But if you really want to be alarmed, let's talk about healthcare just for a couple minutes. No, let's talk about it. Seriously, if you can avoid it, do not go into the hospital or an important doctor's appointment in the afternoon. Period. Don't laugh. The worst way to stop people from laughing, by the way, is to say, don't laugh. 4 times more likely at procedures that begin at 3 p.m. than procedures that begin at 9 a.m. Hand washing in hospitals. We have a terrible problem in hospitals around America of hospital-acquired infections, where people actually come into the hospital without an infection, get an infection in the hospital. The first line of defense is for the people working in hospitals to wash their hands. Here's what the chart, I don't have this with me. Here's what the chart of hand washing in hospitals looks like. The vertical axis is how often they wash, people wash their hands. The horizontal axis is time of day. It's a very simple chart. It's an air chart. Iowa Perry does not have air charts. I have air charts. Here's what the chart looks like. Right? Massive drop in, yes, you're alarmed, you should be. Massive drop in hand washing in hospitals in the afternoon. Right? Now here we are. One of the pieces of guidance, is to don't be concerned about talking about sensitive topics. So so following that guidance and just knowing what I think can really light up the crowd. Let's talk about colonoscopies. Doctors find half as many polyps in afternoon exams as they do in morning exams for the exact same population. All right, so let's put it all together. Corporate world, education world, healthcare. Oh my God. We don't talk about judicial and jury decision making.
Oh yeah.
Terrifying as well. Right? So here's what we know. Let's encapsulate this. I mean, here's the thing. This research is hidden because different fields are doing it, but they're finding the exact same thing. So here's what we know. Let's talk about it. 1, our cognitive abilities don't remain static over the course of a day. Our brain power doesn't remain static over the course of a day. It changes. All right, this is so important. I wish someone had told me this earlier in my life. Our brains are not as sharp throughout the day. They change. So if you're feeling less sharp at a different time of day, it doesn't mean you're a wimp, it doesn't mean you're a weakling, which is what I often call myself in those kinds of circumstances. It means that our cognitive abilities don't remain static over the course of a day. 2, these daily fluctuations are more extreme than we realize. The difference between the daily high point and the daily low point can be massive. 3, the best time to perform a task, or as leaders, the best time to have others perform a task, depends on the nature of the task. So I want you to think about this in 2 directions. 1, your own performance. 2, the people you're leading. Their cognitive abilities don't stay the same throughout the day. Their daily fluctuations are more extreme than they realize. The best time for them to perform a task depends on the nature of the task. So we're going to pay this off with some guidance on what you can do and then what you can teach your teams to do. It begins with something called chronotype. You've heard of morning people and evening people? That's not folklore, that's science. The whole field, as I mentioned before, chronobiology, a key element of that is what's called a chronotype. Some of us naturally wake up early and go to sleep early. Some of us naturally wake up late and go to sleep late. Most of us are in the middle. About 15% of us are larks, about 20% of us are owls, and about 2/3 of us are what I call third birds. Not larks or owls. Seriously, I'm not joking. I looked through like 1,000 bird names to come up with something better than that, and it didn't exist. So, how do you figure out your chronotype? There are instruments, psychologically sound instruments, scientifically sound instruments, like the Munich Chronotype Questionnaire, the MCTQ, the Morning Evening Questionnaire, but there's a back-of-the-envelope way that we can explain this too. So we can figure out somebody's chronotype here. Friends, if you have a volunteer, we can figure out your chronotype probably in 30, 45 seconds. So that one right there was the first in the appropriately colored pink top. Let's, it's you, okay. Tell me your name. Diane, okay, we're going to figure out Diane's chronotype, okay? You can do it. Those of you watching can do this on your own. Those of you watching here can do this. Here we go, Diane. So I wanted you to think about what chronobiologists call a free day. A free day. A free day is a day you don't have to wake up to an alarm clock and you're not massively sleep deprived and trying to catch up on sleep. On a free day, what time do you typically go to sleep?
About 9:30 or 10.
9:30 or 10, so reasonably early. So you don't have to get up the next morning to an alarm clock. That's 9:30 or 10, okay? Just want to make sure I'm sort of turning into a game show host here. Let's say 10, all right? 2, when do you typically wake up on a free day? You can wake up anytime you want, Diane.
About 7:30.
7? Okay, let's say 7, just to make my math easier, all right? So, yeah, so 7. So what we're trying to do here is we want to figure out what is your midpoint of sleep. So your midpoint of sleep, if you go to sleep at 10 and wake up at 7, your midpoint of sleep is going to be 2:30. Is that right?
2:30.
Never do math in public. That's rule number one. 2:30. Okay, so here's what we know. If your midpoint of sleep is before 3:30, you're a lark. If your midpoint of sleep is after 5:30, you're an owl. If your midpoint of sleep is in the middle, you're a third bird. So Diane, you are a lark, it sounds like. Does that make sense to you? Great, okay, so you figured out our chronotype. Here's what we need to know. You got your owls and you got your non-owls. Any of you owls in the audience, come up as an owl. The owls, okay. I feel your pain, owls. Seriously, the corporate world is designed to crush your spirit. You're an owl. All right? But here's what we know. Most of us, 80% of us go through in this order. Peak, trough, recovery. Peak, trough, recovery. Peak early in the day, trough in the middle of the day, recovery late in the day. Owls, much more complicated people. Birds, much more complicated bird people. They sort of go recovery, trough, peak, but the main thing with owls is that they have their peak much later in the day. 4 in the afternoon, 5 in the afternoon, 8 in the evening, 10 in the evening, 11 at night. Okay? So, that's our type. Now, I'm going to give you ask you a question here. I'm going to pay this off in one awesome chart. We're ending with a chart crescendo here. You ready? I want to ask you a question. Tell you about this woman, Linda. Linda is 31 years old. She's outspoken and very bright. In college, Linda majored in philosophy. As a student, she was deeply concerned with issues of discrimination and social justice and participated in anti-nuclear demonstrations. That's Linda. I'm going to ask you a question about Linda. Which of the following is more likely? A, Linda is a bank teller. B, Linda is a bank teller and is active in the feminist movement. What's the answer?
B.
B. You have a 50-50 chance. Anybody say A? A is the right answer. Why is A the right answer? That gentleman back there. Okay, it looks like it would be A because it's not the thing you think it would be. That's an incredibly interesting answer. It is absolutely useless to my making my point. Thank you so much for raising your hand so vigorously. Anybody have a better reason? Who else has a reason for A? Someone over here? We got it. Feminism has nothing to do with nuclear activism. That is an interesting point as well. Not quite there. We're going to have one more chance. That gentleman right there.
A, because she's not busy doing anything after work.
She's not busy doing anything after work. All right. Another interesting answer. Let's make this simpler. So here's the thing about this problem. Most people don't get it right. The answer is A. Okay? And it's not a close call. It's not an opinion. The answer is A. Why? Because B has 2 variables, A has 1 variable. Bank tellers who are active in the feminist movement are a subset of bank tellers. And the subset can never be larger than the set of which it is part. So if I said to you, Linda is a bank teller and is an accomplished taxidermist, right? You wouldn't be faked out by that. But most people get this question wrong. It's a cognitive quirk that we have. It's a cognitive quirk that they have. This is what psychologists call an analytic problem. But here's why it's interesting for our part. So remember, you can do this with 9th grade algebra. There are 2 variables rather than 1. One is a subset of the other. It's not an opinion question. A is the right answer, period. Here's what's interesting about this. Larks and third birds, more likely to get this question right early in the day and miss it later in the day. Owls, more likely to get this question wrong early in the day and right later in the day. Let that settle for a little bit. I'm going to give you another problem, and I'm just going to tell you the answer to this one. Ernesto is a dealer in antique coins. One day someone brings him a beautiful bronze coin. The coin has an emperor's head on one side and the date 544 BC stamped on the other. Ernesto examines the coin, but instead of buying it, he calls the police. Why? Okay, I'm going to totally tempt fate here. Who has a reason why? Yes, sir. He knows, oh, thank you, bless you. He knows it's not real life. He knows it's not real life, yes. Thank you. 80-something BC is like a hindsight. Tell me your first name. Treasure? Oh, that's an awesome first name. If I had a kid, remember if I had a kid named Treasure. Treasure Pink doesn't quite. But Treasure has it. That's exactly right. You can't have a coin stand 544 BC because nobody knew then that C was going to be B 544 years later. It's a fake, right? This is a very hard problem. Most people miss this too. The way they reason through it is that they start trying to get it, they start trying to get it, they start trying to get it, they can't get it. I didn't get that. This one totally stumped me when I first did it. And then finally they have what's called a flash of illuminance. They go, oh! It's called an insight problem. It doesn't bend to mathematical logic. It requires this flash of illuminance. Insight problem. Here's the thing about insight problems. Larks, more likely to get this question wrong in the morning and right later in the day. Owls, more likely to get this question right in the morning and wrong later in the day. Known as the inspiration paradox. Now, let's pay this off. All right? I stacked up a lot of cans here. Let's pay this off. Here is your chart. Your daily when chart. These are your design principles here. Stage is this. We move through the day in 3 stages, peak, trough, recovery. During our peak, that's when we are most vigilant. Vigilance. What does it mean to be vigilant? Vigilant means you're able to bat away distractions. You're able to bat away distractions. That makes it the best time for analytic work. Work that requires heads down, focus, and attention. Writing a report, analyzing data, going step by step through the elements of a strategy. That's when, so for most of us, that's early in the day. For owls, do your analytic work late in the day. If you have owls in your team, have them do your analytic work later in the day. During the trough, that middle period, that is a terrible period of the day. It really is. There are more auto accidents between 2 and 4 p.m. than almost any other time during the day. It's a terrible time of the day. That's what we should be doing, and your team should be doing. Their administrative work, work that doesn't require massive cognitive loads or creativity. Filling out answering routine emails, filling out your TPS reports, doing things that you don't need like a lot of brain power for. The recovery. Recovery is a very interesting time of day. The recovery is a very interesting time of day. Remember, we go peak, trough, recovery. During the recovery period, for most of us, our mood is up, but our vigilance is down. Mood up, vigilance down. That seems like a problem, but it's actually a benefit for things that require insight. Answering non-obvious problems. Finding problems with non-obvious solutions. Iterating new ideas. Brainstorming, and doing things like that. You want to be loose. You've been to brainstorming sessions with people who are hyper-vigilant. They say, that's a bad idea, that's a bad idea, that's a bad idea. Not helpful. And folks, that's the whole story right there. That's what we should be doing. Doing our analytic work during the peak, our administrative work during the trough, our insight work during the recovery. And here's my last word for you. There's a problem. We don't do that. No. I don't do that. I'm a writer. Those of you who are writers know that when you sit down to write, the entire world is conspiring to distract you. Yes. So I'm a morning person. I should be doing my writing in the morning. Many days I get into my office at 8:30, ready to do some writing. What's the first thing I do? Answer my email. Yeah. Spend an hour clearing the decks. I feel good about that because I've cleared my head. It's 9:30. I'm ready to start writing, but I feel like having a muffin. So go ahead and write. 10 o'clock, come back. Hey, there's probably something happening on Twitter. Go check that out. 4 ESPN highlight reels later, it's lunchtime, and I haven't done my most important work, and I'm entering the trough, but at the exact worst time to do that kind of work. It's like riding a bicycle uphill against the wind. But I'll tell you who's worse, and this is an idea I want every leader to take away from this thing here. I'll tell you who's worse than me. Every organization in America. How many of you in this room here in Atlanta have been to a meeting this week? Anybody been to a meeting this week? When we schedule meetings, we use only one criterion. What is that criterion? Availability. Yes. Yeah. We don't say, what kind of meeting is this? Do we need people to be analytical and locked down? Do we need people to be looser and more creative? Is this simply a meeting about our travel voucher policy? We don't ask those kinds of questions. We just say, is Fred available? Is Maria available? And is conference room 3C open? If you as a leader can change that, you will make a massive influence on the world. One final word. I want to quote somebody for you. I think I'm going to get that here. This person said, the secret to your success is found in your daily agenda.
Yes.
Anybody ever said that?
John Maxwell.
Holy moly! That's exactly right. And when we fashion our daily agenda, we are very intentional about part of it.
Yes.
Anybody ever have a to-do list? That's intentionality. We're intentional about what we do. We're intentional about how we do it. We're intentional about who we do things with. But when it comes to when we do things, we're not intentional. If you are intentional about when you do things, if you bring that question of when from the kids' table to the grown-up table as a leader, if you as a leader are fully awake to timing, to making strategic, smart decisions about when to do things, following the science, not your intuition, following this guidance that we have right there, knowing that the secret of your success is found in your daily agenda, if you're awake to the when, you're going to make better decisions, you're going to be a better leader, you're going to have a happier team, and you're going to contribute more to the world. Thanks for your time.